right. Greetings, everybody. Sorry for the impromptu kind of late stream. It's just that kind of day. Happy, what are we on? Monday? Happy Monday as I'm recording this into, what are we, week four? Week four of Lore24. Oh, hey, Ian. Ian mentions just catching up on Daniel's Bandit Keeps podcast. Ever figure out when your episode's coming out? Yes, I believe it came out yesterday, Ian. So it should be there today. In fact, he shared the link with me. I think it came out yesterday, technically. I think that's what he said it was going to come out. Then he sent me a link. Hold on a second. He sent me a link, and I will copy paste that in the chat in one moment. All right, let's just do this. My guest spot on Bandits Keeps podcasts. All right. Got it in there. It was a pretty that whole thing get in there. Hopefully the whole link got in there, but you should be able to figure it out from that. Maybe I'll post it. I think I pasted the whole thing in there. I think I just grabbed his whole text thing instead of just the link. So hold on a second. Okay, there's just the link. I'm not going to post it up on the screen, but it's on anchor.fm/Daniel-Norton/episodes, and then it's D6 dice pools. Frederick says, they're thinking of the new Ars Magic coming out. I'm not, I don't really know too much about Ars Magic. I remember seeing it, obviously seeing it and kind of being adjacent, but I never got into it, never really read it or played it. What's coming out? Is there something really new, Frederick, with this Ars Magic? Or is it Ars Magica, or is it something? I always think of Ars Magica. Am I wrong about that? Does it change names? But something interesting about this edition. I mean, not that if there wasn't anything interesting, that I wouldn't look at it. But I'm just curious if there's big changes. Is it just kind of a reprint? What are they going on with it? Let's see. There we go. And Ian's got it's on. Yep, it's also on Spotify. Everywhere you can get your fine podcasts. It essentially we just kind of messed around with talking about as it says on the tin, dice pool systems and whatnot. Dave says he's been hearing some stuff about Ars Magic. Okay. Okay, so apparently they're remastering and making some significant changes. All right, well, maybe I'll have to put on my things. Now, I don't have any. It's one of those things that I would not be the person to come to say how compare this to what it used to be, because I don't have I have no skin in that particular game. I don't know anything about, or if I know very little, I guess I would say, about Ars Magic. So, but it's one of those things I've always wanted to look at. So maybe it's a good time to get in. I'm just looking at, so I just had up here, I've got my Lore24 board up, and I've just been putting together, I'm trying to add some more kind of mini prompts. So I was just putting some things in, things that you could use if you wanted to. Let's say when we roll for that big prompt and we get event and you wanted some further detail, you could roll for what, what was the size of this event? Or for the NPC, is an enemy as neutral as an ally? I could probably break this out more. Maybe I should break this out more. That might be a good one for a 2d6 kind of table, but I'll leave it like this for right now. It's one of those things, I think, the more when you have a world built up, then the specificity helps more. Because what I was thinking about with the NPC type thing is it an ally like a mentor, or is it a peer? Or is it, what's the, you could add more relationships. So it's probably enough for most people just to think about, oh, is it an ally, an enemy, or just somebody else? It's always one of those things where I get, I want to make it as useful for everybody as I can, but it's kind of it's a fool's errand, right? Because you try to make your thing for everybody. I mean, that's what in some ways that's the D&D kind of issue, right? You make the RPG for everybody, and it becomes lacking for everybody also. It ends up being kind of perfect for nobody because you're trying to make it for everybody, kind of thing. Um, but for right now, for these kind of mini prompts, I'm just gonna stick with these sorts of things. Big is it small? Is it an enemy? Is there a friend? And I'm theoretically, if you're building up your Lore 24 world and there's no, you know, there's no party in there yet, then I probably need to even come up with something else because enemy and ally was in terms of the party. But if you have no party yet, if you're building out your world, then maybe I need to come up with either alternates or maybe even come up with something else so that it doesn't. That's more useful. Hey, Brian. Brian says I'm slacking on Lore 24 because something shiny new, something called Gravecraft that makes it easy to make a game. Oh yeah, you're just catching up to Game Crafter, Brian Smith? I'm surprised. Yeah, it's been around for a long time as far as I know. Or at least it seems to be. My recollection is, and yeah, you can get all kinds of cool things. I bought Iron Helm from there, which I maybe should probably make a video about. I mean, I've had it for a while, and again, it's not new. And I think now there's even an updated version of Iron Helm, but it's kind of a solo dungeon crawler. But they've got kinds of great. Well, I mean, let's just go there. Let's just because they have some neat stuff there. They have some neat stuff that is very much RPG related. So, well, there are a few things at Game Crafter. One, you can buy games already made. It is another. If you had a game like Brian Smith, your game where you're going to have some kind of custom pieces, you can kind of put kind of kits together, or you can put it together and they'll sell it for you. I've done that. So there's I think Iron Helm is one that I've bought through here, and there's a bunch of Iron Helm stuff. Right now, it's going for $55. So you get bits and bobs, and you got some cards. It's a single player game. You got them running through dungeon. It's a lot of fun. I maybe should make a video on it because he's fun. He's fun. Let's see. Frederick says that Ars Magica or Ars Magic. I may have to look that up too. Ties into Lore 24 because it's running a big bad magic kingdom as the Wizard King. Well, I mean, Lore 24 is not particularly about big bad magic kingdoms, but I'm fine with it. I mean, this is all about kind of like, hey, checking in, just kind of fiddle faddling. We could talk some Lore 24 stuff in particular. That's one thing, kind of unlike, say, Dungeon 23. Presuming you're working on Dungeon, we have some kind of things we could talk about because Lore 24, you could be working on anything under the sun. I don't have any particular. I think I'm still developing my kind of note card driven system, and I'll need to get some note cards, and I'll need to kind of try it out because I do want to try it maybe physically, seeing how that works. So I'm fine. Kind of, this is sort of a placeholder stuff to talk about, and we'll get into. I have to roll up this week's community prompt. Last time I forgot. Don't want to forget again. And then we can look at some folks' Lore 24 entries, or at least I don't know if anyone. I might have been the only one who did the community prompt last week, so I can do what I did for the community prompt, which I did, I think, also posted to YouTube. So if you're in the YouTube community thing, you might have seen it already, but I can do it again. Marius said they're pricing out paper, pad, and pencil. Oh, nice. Yeah, they got a lot of neat stuff. So it kind of ties in something I know I've wanted to do, but I was always kind of waiting because they have lots of. Let's see, what do they have? I forget where they are. Is it no, that's I don't want to do that. They got lots of stuff. And what I mean by stuff is you can get all kinds of cool shapes and things. And I think now that I keep saying now that COVID's over, right? COVID is it's not well, it's not over. COVID's probably never going to be over. I presume at this point it's never going to be over. But I guess coming out of the lockdown stuff, as people are playing more games and gaming in shops coming a bigger thing, and certainly for con experiences, like these kind of stuff that you can buy in GameCraft where you can get all kinds of really interesting shapes, and they get all ones of built in. You don't need to design them yourself. So here they have shields and different things, and they have all kinds of neat bits and bobs you can buy to have at your game. You want to have some inspiration tokens, you can get some here. You want to have something, maybe you have, shields will be sundered. So everybody with shields has a shield token. You can have one and like toss it in. Oh, I'm breaking up my shield, toss that in. If you wanted to have health with hearts or something like that, they have kind of all this stuff. I don't know if they have here. This actually is just for custom ones, but I think they have a bunch that are you can just get. These are all okay. So these are all their custom ones. You make some meeples if you want. You can get some play money, which is kind of cool. If you have your own currency, you can make some kind of play money. Get some custom D8s. These acrylic shapes seems interesting, but I guess certain style of game maybe they work for. Oh, Dave, you got that's right. You were coming off the COVID. Oh, good. I'm glad you seem to be recovering. Excellent. Gork says the Frian anime. Frian, I don't know. I'm not familiar with Frian anime. Thinking about mages having hobbies like friend collecting weird, obscure folk magic spells as they adventure and travel around. I mean, I think all that stuff is cool, right? I'm always thinking about in terms of I'm always get caught up in the crafting thing, and I think I like the crafting spell, but I don't like it when you're gonna have it. No, wait, here's wait. Let me say it this way. Let me put it this way. I think custom spells is really cool. I think being able to find them is really cool. I just always want there to be some kind of cost associated with it. Now, if you're doing memorization, you kind of have that. And then it's just on you as the GM to make sure that the spells that you're finding out in the wild aren't, I don't know, just so superior to what you would have otherwise. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter as long as as long as it fits within what you're trying to do, right? But I'm always keen. Like I love ad hoc spell system, but I like because they have kind of very laid out costs, things associated with it. I don't love the thing where you can just keep like adding to your repertoire just by kind of doing the stuff you're doing anyway. Like, oh, and I can learn this skill and this skill and this skill, kind of going on and on. You just learn every skill under the sun. And to me, it always like, well, it sounds great, but maybe I should, and I think part of me thinks that that's just something I need to get over, like myself. That it's just me getting caught up too much, and why am I comparing what I'm doing to what other people could doing? Because presumably, for whatever table you're playing, if that works and people like that, then who cares? Who cares if some moron at some other game is going to try to take advantage of it? As long as no one's abusing it at your table, then go for it. But I don't know. I always feel like I'm less into that stuff than some of that stuff because I'm looking at the abuse. But maybe it's just because I've seen those abuses too many times myself, where I'm always like, I don't want to get down that road again. But um, Terrence is here. Somebody called for a moron, and Terrence arrives. But I'm bummed. Let's see. Brian says, I've been plugging some game components from old board games and stuff from Goodwill for years. Now I can just make custom ones. Yep. Yep. I mean, yeah, Brian, if you're doing this for friends and family, just kind of on your own thing, then yeah, using old board games, just kind of salvaging parts is going to work. If it was something that you end up wanting to sell, then being able to find something like Game Crafter where you can buy all kinds of stuff. I probably want to make my own dice because you know what I've had a hard time doing? I noticed I've had to go to Etsy, and I think I did that. I did a video a while back where I bought some dice on Etsy, and most of them were pretty good. But I noticed that the cons, I don't know what it is. I'm always kind of bummed out because I have like this kind of weather die, and I want to have more things like these, more fun dice. But when I go to the cons, and you go to these booths, and they got just the millions of dice, none of them are these kind of fun dice like these over here. They're all just the same dice. They're just different materials, and I get it. People love the materials, the weight, maybe the size, and I get it. There's some dice. Actually, my 1985 games dice I like a lot. I like it. I like the size. I like they got the kind of sharp edges that I kind of dig. They're a little bit bigger than my other dice, which is interesting, which makes it a little bit. That's the one thing I would say is a little bit bothers me. Let me see if I can find one in particular because it's the D6 that usually is the one that let me get at. There we go. Because they're slight. I don't know if they're different, and that'll be interesting. Does anyone know? Are there different sizes? Are there different? And I'm of course there are different sizes. What I mean by that is, are there different? Do people mark them by size, or is there a way to check which sizes and get things of a size? So it seems like there's definitely a standard one. So let me show these up. So let me see if I can hold these up. So I got 3 dice here, right? This die is the 1985 games die that I like a lot. This other one on the other side, the other kind of greenish die, is from Dragonbane, and then this is another die I picked up somewhere. These two are the same size. They're clearly, and it's maybe hard to tell because it's in my fingers, smaller than the 1985 games die, which against my hand kind of looks, I guess it's kind of blue-green. It's a really beautiful kind of color. I like it. It's got a little bit of heft. I like it's kind of got the sharp corners that I like. It's nice, but it is, for some reason, it's just not, I don't know. I mean, obviously they make a choice, but it always annoys me if I'm going to grab 3d6 or something that I don't have all the same dice. They're just not the same. I don't know, but I like dice. But I want more fun dice. But I suppose you could just make your own. Here they got some kind of robo die, or I don't know, like the Doctor Who Dalek. Is that what it is? Dalek die? Hey, Magnus. Got wooden stuff. So let me see. I know they have a lot of here. I'm looking at all the stuff that's like custom, but I know they have. I know they just have. There we go. Game parts. I know they have a lot of stuff that's already made. There you got hex tiles. Yay! And I actually have some. I bought some blank hex tiles off of Amazon that I need to monkey with and do a video about because I found some that are wet erase. Where are they? I don't have them close enough at hand, but I found them. They're wet erase hex tiles, and I thought, and they're black on one side and then blank on the other. And I thought they could be really useful for if you wanted to have your hex map on the table. You could even have that fog of war. You draw your terrain on there and then turn it with the black side up, and then as the party gets into a space and maybe does an observation or whatever you do it, you could flip them over. You could keep some of that. You could plan it out in advance, but still have your fog of war without having to do all kinds of templates or do kind of weird stuff. You got all kinds of fun things. Oh, they got some. Look at that game. You get some serious barbarian with 2 swords. I don't remember even seeing those, but I just like some of the chips, and there's a ton of stuff. I really like the bits. I'm trying to see. They had little markers and things. Here's some blank dice or cubes. Oh, these are sorry, not dice. These are cubes if you've played in something like the original Expedition. No, Terraforming Mars or even Ares Expedition. I think they both have cubes that they use for different resources. They're definitely, you could certainly find uses for cubes, even just if you wanted to have your coins as cubes. Gold. You got they must have silver here somewhere. One of these two. Silver. And maybe bronze. Got that. Magnus Word, gamecrafter.com. Gamecrafter.com. Magnus has fallen off their lore streak. I hear you. Vacation and busy. Yeah, I've just been trying to get something out, and I still have to do mine today. So far, I've been all right. But yeah, I hear you. But I think that's the thing, right? I think the important thing is not that you fall off the wagon. The important thing is if you can try to get back on the wagon and just get back in the hang of it. You can always make up days, you can and do 3. I mean, that's why I also think that when you do small bits, right? Keep your bits small, atomic, as I've been saying. Then when you miss a day and you have to do 3 atomic bits, it doesn't feel so daunting. Whereas if you're doing really big updates and then you miss a day or 2 days or 3 days or a week, and thinking, oh my gosh, now I gotta, over the next amount of time, I have to do kind of double. I have to do a certain amount of double days to try to catch back up. Then it starts to look daunting. Whereas if you've just been doing little bits, then I think it's not to me anyway. It's like, well, that's manageable. I've just been doing 2 little paragraphs or 1 little paragraph. So now today I'm getting 2 little paragraphs. Oh, that's fine. Yes, Terrence said he's 7 entries behind, but several weeks ahead on word count. Yeah, if you judge it on word count, a lot of the stuff like at the forums is huge. Speaking of which, let's see, what do we got here? If I go to place, just do Lore24. Yeah, Terrence updated his. He's the one. He updated his today. Tasters of Cups, Bearers of Iron, the interlocking tale of elves and goblins. All through Zerth's history, there have been times of conjunction between the various domains of the Otherworld. In these instances, Zerth is as close as it can be to a particular otherworldly land, with crossovers and overlaps becoming frequent, and the primal wood is no exception. When the primal wood is in conjunction, fey creatures of all types make the crossing to Zerth. And let me know, Terrence, if I'm pronouncing Zerth correctly. Is that how it's supposed to be? Some come to satisfy their curiosity, some are fleeing their enemies, and some cross over simply to make mischief. It's during these times when these creatures encounter mortals that our two stories begin. And now we have part one. And see, this is what I mean. Like, I would have just to me, like that would be plenty of entry for me per day. Part one. Elves. Elves are the product of dalliances between powerful fake creatures and humans. In ancient times, they were called changelings as they were born looking like a normal newborn human child. But as they aged, they would begin to grow stranger in appearance with lean frames, large eyes, and long, pointy ears. In those days, a mother or father would raise their strange child in seclusion to keep them safe from violence perpetrated by the fearful and superstitious. Eventually, these changelings would leave or outlive their human parents and have to strike out in the world. These changelings usually lived solitary lives, never meeting another of their kind before their deaths and never leaving behind children of their own because, despite ample opportunities afforded by their unearthly comeliness, get that up the comeliness table, you could manage to interbreed with regular humans, or if they could, the result would be a normal human child. It seems their births were acts of magic as much as biology due to the otherworldly nature of their fey parents. Time was on their side, however, for with each new conjunction with the primal wood, new changelings would be born. Additionally, since there seemed to be no upper limit to their lifespans, it was only a matter of time before they began to meet. Happily, they discovered they could sire children like themselves with each other. Slowly, over the course of millennia, their numbers grew, and so did their power. Most found themselves gifted with a great facility for devising and casting magic spells. Their long lives allowed them to master and even develop new martial styles. They created great works of art and literature. They expanded from small hidden communities to carving out whole territories to call their own. They even changed their names to reflect their burgeoning cultural identity. They rejected the term changeling and adopted the language of their fey forebears. They chose the ancient fairy word elves, meaning the children. In our next entry, we explore goblins, similar but also very different origins. And there's a very sad-looking elf child. Is that yours, Terrence, or did you find that somewhere? It's a pretty picture, either way. So there's Terrence's entry. Terrence, did you do a community prompt? Am I the only one? I feel like I'm the only one who's at least mentioned it. And I don't mind. I totally don't mind if on a week or multiple weeks, I'm the only one who does it. I find them kind of helpful when I'm lacking in thinking what to do next. I can go, oh yeah, I can try to grab that community prompt. I like the puzzle. I like the puzzle of the community prompt also. So just because, why not? This is my show. Oh yeah, this is where I'm working on today's thing, but I'll skip that one for right now because I'm not ready. All right, so here we go. So this was from a couple days ago. Using the community prompt of spell or ritual, armor or shield, emerald, and brutal. Okay, I'll check yours after I'm done with mine, Brian Smith, and we'll find it. So this is the prompt was a spell or ritual. I chose spell, armor or shield. As you can see, I chose shield, and then kind of keyword sort of emerald and brutal. And what I chose was a spell, and I call it the Coward Shield. The spell was only cast once, and its formula subsequently lost. Knowledge of the spell has only been preserved in the legend of the Fenwatch Lord Hamfist Cursed and Cursegiver. On the eve of a battle against a band of reavers, Hamfist asked his court wizard Mukong to cast an enchantment upon his family shield, a wide disc of wood-backed bronze covered in heavy patina, hence the kind of emerald, and decorated with a ram's head. The wizard betrayed him and cast an evil spell on the shield instead. The nature of the spell was not revealed until battle was joined. Hamfist was hard-pressed, and he fended off several killing blows. For each of the strikes he turned aside with his shield, one of his house knights fell dead. At the last, Hamfist recognized the wizard's betrayal. He cursed the wizard 7 times before he was felled by many reaver spear blows. Legend has it that some short time later, the wizard was himself betrayed, laid low by 7 wounds from 7 stealthy blades, one for each of the curses laid upon him by his dead liege. So yeah, this is just my attempt to do the thing. I probably could come back and actually create the spell, but I'm kind of, since I like the ad hoc thing, and I'm kind of pondering using kind of that system and some of this stuff, that I'm trying to keep it right now sort of open. So I didn't want to, and plus I haven't figured out how this spell would work. I think one of the things that's kind of cool to me anyway about having sort of an open sort of ad hoc system is that I can think about, well, how one might go about trying to create that spell instead of having a simple, this is the Coward Shield spell. And really, cowards, I should probably change the name of it because it was nothing cowardly by the person. I mean, I suppose that's what the wizard thought of him, perhaps. It was not his fault. He wasn't trying to. This is, I mean, you could totally use this thing potentially, I guess, to try to almost vampirically fend off death at the expense of your close followers. The idea here is that if you're using in game terms, what I was thinking about is if this person was a PC, they have this shield, and then they get hit, and they're going to go below 0, and they're going to use kind of a shields maybe sundered sort of thing. And then instead of the shield breaking, someone else is getting killed. Like you're fending out the blow, and it's killing somebody else. And obviously, you could think, well, that sounds great. But if you're in battle with a bunch of things like Reavers, you are living, but then all your allies are getting cut down, which probably means that both, well, one, you're getting almost hit below 0, so you're not at a lot of health. This is not happening when you're full health. You were near death, and then all your allies are being taken away from you as you're being beaten down. So probably a net not win for you. I did also go ahead and write up the shield, which may be still extant somewhere. And I just call this the Cursed Shield. It's a cursed lawful shield +2. This shield once belonged to Hamfist, Cursed, and Curse Giver. If the bearer of the shield should suffer a physical attack that would kill them, every ally of theirs within 30 feet must save versus death. The first ally to fail their save, or I suppose you could do random one, is slain in place of the bearer. It is said that should a brave warrior don the shield and defeat a worthy foe in single combat, in other words, they have nobody allies with them to sacrifice, the curse on the shield will be broken. And I put in worthy because I wouldn't want someone to go fight up, you can't fight a giant rat and do it. It's got to be worthy. And then this would be something that in game terms, you and your GM would bargain out what would qualify as a worthy foe. Should the curse be broken, the shield gains the following effect. The first time the shield bearer suffers a fatal blow from a physical weapon, they are instead invigorated by the force. Oops, there's a typo. By the force of the blow rather than harmed. Oh, no, I want to keep editing. Never mind, because I got my message down there. I can't do that yet. Hey, dudes, said, glad I could catch the stream today. I have an unrelated question. Ooh, go for it. What is the software I use for note keeping? I see it in every stream, and it looks handy. So I presume you're talking about this. This is called Ouija.io. It's basically one of these kind of infinite corkboard type things. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's just because you can always just keep adding to it. There's a bunch of these. Ouija's definitely not the most well known. I'm trying to think what the big one is, but it's similar thing. I think so. It is a paid software, and I got it on a lifetime. One of those kind of you purchase it now and you get lifetime access. So I got that going for me. But I think unlike some of the other ones, it actually has, from what I understand, the free plan gets you access to a fairly good amount of boards. Because when I was using another one, what I recall is that I ran out of boards, and I like to do boards for different topics and different things, so I just ran out. And I believe the free version of this one has a pretty good selection of boards if you want to give it a try. But it's Ouija.io, Weje.io. Ryan says, I like the long-term curse idea and the mysterious death of the wizard. Yeah, I want to try to add that things. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think these I liked as entries because they're not. I mean, I always talk about how small I want my entries to be, and these are actually longer, but they're longer because I got a good idea and I went with it. Or I like the idea I had and I kind of fleshed out a little bit of this one. I just was like, oh yeah, let me do the shield, and then I was like, okay, here it is. It's cursed. We got the curse from the other entry. Oh, let me add this bit to it. It's always feel like when my entries expand because I want to write more, I think that's fine. I'm trying to keep it that I don't have an expectation on myself for them always to be a certain length. But I would have been fine with like this part if it had been, right? If I hadn't gotten kind of inspired or this idea I liked about, hey, how could you maybe break the curse? Something like that, then I wouldn't have had these two. And that would have been, okay. Let's see if I can find Brian Smith's entry here. Let's see. I think this is it. Yep. Do you remember which one of yours? Look at these massive entries. Okay, I know it's not this one because this we had last week. Vapor Glass Shroud. Is it this one? Because it might be. Well, let's just read this one. Vapor Glass Shroud. The process was invented and performed by a small sect of dragonborn sorcerers atop the volcano in Cragswatch Village, easily identified by their gleaming green eyes and thrumming aura. From what rumors could be gathered and verified by scribes at Zeno Monastery, the process involved removal of one or both of the participants' eyes and replacing them with specially prepared translucent green vapor glass gems. Crafted from the very fumes given off by the nearby volcano, vapor glass is an especially delicate substance and nearly impossible to work with without destroying it. Once the grisly ritual is completed, however, the vapor glass eye grants the wearer some sort of ever present insubstantial armor. A faint green glow outlining the body remains even in death until the vapor glass eye is shattered. Seemingly ineffective against blades, the shroud blunts harmful magical effects quite well. Oh, interesting. Are they still blinded, Brian? Did they get their sight back? Are they just blind with the green, a little green armor? Out of curiosity. Crag's Watch. Let's just see. I like this one. Let's do this one. This was a nice list. 18 items found in the cultist mansion. One is a 2-foot tall wooden statue carved into the form of a smiling devil reclining on a throne holding a pitchfork. 2, a weathered, elongated skull with a removable top holding potent herbs within. 3, a faded painting of 2 twin white-haired girls. One is holding a rock and the other is holding a black cat with a dead rat in its mouth. Expertly painted, but dusty. A thick silver skull ring with small purple gems for eyes and crossbow motifs on either side of the skull. A gleaming silver ring finely carved with an entire human skeleton around the entire length of the band. A large clear crystal reveals a minutely painted screaming face beneath it. Nice. A pair of elaborately hooked and ornamented ceremonial pikes. Okay. So Brian Smith answering my question. They gotta have vision. Everything is green though. Okay, so it's like they live in Emerald City. That's all right. Apparently a pair of elaborately hooked and ornamented ceremonial pikes, a very heavy dark wood chair, the back carved into the face of a bearded man, the arms ending in hands holding tree branch style legs, a murky painting of a red-haired woman in a black dress gazing away from the viewer, looking over a gloomy and ruinous city roofline set in a tarnished silver frame. Those are nice. Those are nice details. Let's see. A painting of a stern-faced man with a large reptile slung over his shoulder amidst a jungle stream, holding a heavy crossbow and sporting an exquisitely large moustache. Nice. A wide bench constructed of some strange pitted horns and upholstered with heavily scaled reptile hide. Doesn't sound that comfy, but it's impressive. The head of a red-skinned creature, protruding fangs and strangely wet eyes. If removed, they turn into rubies. If replaced, they turn back into seemingly living eyeballs that cannot blink. I would think I'd be more horrified if they started to blink, given that it's a head. And then finally, a bizarre 7-foot wooden sculpture made of writhing tree limbs carved into crows, snakes, and insects, all coated with a very dark and awful smelling lacquer. Lacquer. Brian says they watched Antique Roadshow and tried to turn each item into something that would fit the prompt of a noble mansion. I think it works. I think it totally works. Though I think in terms of the mansion, so you've only got 12, even though you said, it's 18. I see. It's not really. Those are your number. It's a different number. So you got 10 or 12. Though I wonder, it might make more sense. I mean, would you use this as a random table, Brian? Because I feel like these are have really great specificity that I would want to hand place somewhere, as opposed to having randomly show up. Like maybe in the in the whatever area might have been the dining area. I might want those paintings to show up, or some kind of, maybe if there was a drawing room or other kind of hall where they might have engagements in whatnot. I'd want those paintings in there, and also maybe the wide bench in another area. Maybe have the pikes right in the entranceway. I might want to have the pair of elaborately hooked and ornamented pikes, maybe over the door or some other kind of symbol. I feel like they're too good. They're too good, and they have too much specificity to molder away on a random table. I'd want to use them and hand place them in appropriate places. And this is Blood Orange Tangerine Spinner for the working man. Brian said, I had a few random tables to generate noble mansion areas. Might roll once or twice on this and then place those as focal points. Yeah, I just think that they're just really cool. And that way you can kind of build the room a bit around them, or kind of really have them in the room. as opposed to them just kind of being thrown in as afterthoughts because they're too good to have as afterthoughts. I should probably number my Lore24 stuff, but I have not. What else? What else was I gonna? I had something else. We went to game thing. I had something. Oh yeah, I was gonna work. Let's see, what time? So I'm making up some kind of mini prompts or prompt extenders. This is probably wrong. So I was doing this. So I did events because we do have events, right? We have events for a prompt is one of the things. Hey, you can get an event, right? Oh yeah, it's actually in the. I actually need to go where here, and it's here. So I wanted to kind of make some more things. Karen says curated treasure is the best treasure. Yeah, when it's thought out, right? Yes. So I guess yes, curated, kind of thought out, at least for kind of significant things. Some coins is fine, something else is fine. But yeah, when you've gotten the stuff, and I think and just beyond treasure, because then you can start thinking about. Let's go. If we go back to, let's see, we go back to where is it? Yeah, it was here. And we go back to, let's say, where is it? So the weathered elongated skull with the removable top holding potent herbs. I mean, that is just great on its own. Whoops, but put in the right spot, in the right room, then maybe we can tie in, well, what kind of potent herbs are they? How's that tie in? Like, where are we? Are we in somebody's bedroom or somebody's laboratory? And maybe there's all kinds of stuff going on in the laboratory, but then we're looking for something extra that becomes like something good. And then the thing is too, is maybe these elongated skulls is something that we want to use thematically. So we're going to have some repetition. So maybe we'll see just some skeletons, elongated skulls, or maybe on parchments, some diagrams of elongated skulls and other things, right? To kind of, so it becomes something that's thematic to the place and not just the throwaway. And of course, we can think about, well, what creatures are these that have elongated skulls? We're just going for a vaguely alien, kind of ancient alien sort of, or whatever, water. What do they call the boarding when they do the boarding thing, the flatten the kind of, or to kind of thing? Or is it something else? Are there some creatures here? Are we going to come in and see living creatures of those somewhere? Like, what's the deal? So you're going from something here, which is sort of okay, it's just a thing, just put in our packs and forget about it, and potentially a real foundational piece of this place. Like, what is it about that? Same thing with the white haired girls. Like, what I want out of this is fall House of Usher type situation, or like the shine. I think the first thing I remember was like The Shining. Who are these girls and what do they want? And how does that tie in? Something like, what does it say about the family history or whatever place we are? Are we at someone's ancestral mansion that's fallen into disrepair or whatever? And now we have these girls. Like, what do these girls tell us? What do those things tell us? One's holding a rock, one's holding a black cat with a dead rat in its mouth. Like, what do those things mean, right? I want all that stuff to be kind of meaningful, because they have such great detail. Like, you want that detail to be meaningful. Like, and I think to me, as if I was the person who came up with these, I would want the party to kind of like, ooh, like I want to build off of that. And I think as a player, when you see those kind of details, you want there to be something that's building off of that. You want to go, oh, I got that. Like, ooh, what is that? These are clues. Clearly, these are clues to something, but what? Is it the girls? Is it the girl? Is it the black cat? Is it the rock? Is it, can we tell which one's wearing one? Does one have a Tweedledee written on their collar? The other one have Tweedledum? What's the deal, right? We all want that stuff. Too good for just some random just random throwaway things. Brian says they want them to be evocative or some hypothetical person reading them to use in their own spots. Well, yeah, at that point, I guess it comes, Brian, with like what is the intended use case, right? If I was reading that in an adventure, and the adventure, the party is going to the House of Usher, then I love those details, and I want them to be meaningful in that place for something. It could just be that it's just talking about the families, and that's and the girls are going to be important, or maybe they'll later on that we're going to have themes of cats and rocks, something like that, or cats and mice is going to be something, right? Like what, like how does it make sense? If it's just if I'm doing like, if this is a worlds without number, just kind of like here, just give me some stuff, then and I don't, maybe worlds without numbers not even the best case. Like just a book of tables, the Brian Smith's not so ready reference sheets, and just throwing them out there. Then they might be too specific because I think as a player I'm going to see that and I'm going to want to try to figure out what that is, how that pertains to what's going on because it has so much detail to it. As a GM, it almost might be more detailed than I would want if it was going to be generic. They might just say like it's a family picture or a picture of whatever, like the guy says in the Burbs, when the guy asks him like, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" He's like, "Came with the frame." Just came with the frame. Like, it's not really a big deal, right? Like, oh, it's just a tapestry. It's a beautiful tapestry worth 300 gold is probably suitable if it's just loot. If it's gonna have more meaning, then yeah, I want give me all the details about the loot. Oh, the tapestry. Oh, it's got the unicorn and a hunter, and the hunter looks a lot like the guy in the guy in scene 12B kind of thing. Like, so I would tailor the amount of details you're putting in for that kind of use case. If it's just random, then I just need a little bit because I, as the GM, am not going to be really concerned about anything out of it. And once I say like, oh yeah, it's a beautiful tapestry, hunter, something unicorn, and if somebody says, oh, does anybody look familiar? I was like, yeah, you know. Bryce says, I guess I think it's like dungeon dressing. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But what I'm saying is like the more there's that part where like if you're giving a lot of stuff, right, you're kind of foregrounding the object in the space, whatever it is. And then you want it to you want it to match its significance. So if I'm going to give you, so imagine a situation where you're finding a piece of loot in a dungeon and I give you a whole lot of detail about it, but really the only important thing is that it's worth 300 gold pieces. All that detail is almost confusing in the sense, like silver ewer, like a pitcher, right? Silver pitcher worth 250 gold. It's whatever. Like that's for something that's just kind of there. That's fine. If I start going into a lot of detail about it, then and I mean, especially if that detail seems like it really is infused with the place, like those girls or something, where it doesn't feel like oh, it's a silver ewer in the shape of a fish. Okay, right, great. But even if I'd said like it's in the shape of a whale, then I might start thinking like, oh, is this the theme of the dungeon? Is whales, things like that, right? Whereas when you're giving me this kind of detail, which is awesome, I think my expectations change about what it's for. What is it about? What are we doing with this thing? That's what I'm saying. I feel like they're too good. They're too good just to be a throwaway table. I feel like with those things in that list, Brian, you could build a really cool location. You might need, depending on how big it was, you might need more stuff. But like that stuff is really good. And maybe as an exercise, you should try it. There's your assignment. build a location around those items. No, you don't need to do that. But it would be cool if you did. I tend to use things like this just to see if any of the players pick up on it or show interest or pursue it, and then to make stuff up. Yeah, totally. And I think for that, and I think that they work really well. But I think that like if I was designing, kind of like if I'm kind of doing the designy part, I would want to look at those, and I would want to build around because I think they're really cool. So I would want to centerpiece them in terms of what's going on. Oh, he's got random tables for a creepy cult mansion. Excellent. Let's see. All right, so I want to finish. I know other folks did some great stuff. Come to the forums. Don't make me choose between people to read and people not to read. Dave says anything with that much detail needs to be key to the game. I tend to agree. Let's see. So maybe enemy, neutral, and allies not the best thing. Let's call it a political figure. A Military figure. Does that make more sense? So we need an NPC. One could be a political one, a mercantile one, or a military one. Does military would military? Because we're most times we're dealing. I suppose if I keep it like this, it would work outside of fantasy elements. So I'm thinking, often in fantasy games, your military and political figures are mostly one and the same. Right? Your military would there be what other ones would there be? So if we were trying to split up NPCs into kind of categorizing them, you've got your kind of political players, you have your merchants, and I know that, and again, the lines are fuzzy because a powerful merchant family is probably also a political thing as well. But we have to pick one thing, overarching thing. A powerful noble family might also be powerful in mercantile stuff or in military stuff. So maybe military. Maybe I'll put political. I'll put it. Maybe I don't know, outlaw. Underworld. Let's see. So we have 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. Political, military figure, a mercantile figure, an outlaw or underworld figure. I guess that would work, right? Oh yeah, now I remember where I was going. I wanted to take a look back at here to see if there were any. Here we go. So we had person, faction, place, thing. All right, so we got place. Okay, so we got a place, and of course, if there's anybody's got any comments, questions about this or anything else, let me know. I'm here for you. I'm getting ready to do the prompt for this week, so I figure I'm just gonna try to add some more tables. This will all go into my prompter that's up on itch also. All right, so let's see. We got how many do I need? We say place, ruin, outpost, village, town, castle. Ugh. Need a good word. What's a good word for a temple complex? I looked this up. I was trying to look for something that's kind of not religious figure. Oh, I didn't even think about it. Religious figure would be good. Let's see. So maybe I do. Well, let's see. If I do one, maybe I can do it like just a full 6 sides. One, I mean 2. No. Why are you doing that? Oh, because are you not? Okay, there we go. Maybe that'll do it. Political figure, military figure, mercantile figure. I figure mercantile and craftsman would be about the same. Do you think so, Dave or someone else? Do you think there's? I wouldn't want to have ones that are just kind of have like 99% overlap between a craftsman working, dealing with. I guess there are two different parts of dealing with stuff, either the movers of the stuff or the makers of the stuff. I kind of have them together, but let me know if you feel like, because I'm happy to split them up. It's kind of it's what's useful. If it seems like they'd be there's just enough of a distinction to make it worth splitting up, I'm happy to. Political figure, a military figure, a mercantile figure, an outlaw figure. I suppose we could have a mystic figure, which I should probably be on the 6. I like if I'm going to have something weird, have it on the 6. We have political merit. Oh, I didn't put Odoi. I did not put religious. I would, I would just have that as mercantile. I hear what you're saying. I would just say mercantile for merchants and craftsmen. Yeah. Yeah, that's I think the other thing is I would like to do. I don't think we see enough of this with magic items is the kind of limited use magic items. I don't mean charges. And the charges can fulfill the same thing because there are lots of times things with charges and sometimes you can refill the charges, sometimes you can't. I get it. What I'm talking about is like, but I think what tends to happen is we get all these magic items that are really powerful and are kind of endless use. And I think that's why I always feel like if I'm going to have all these really powerful, not necessarily all of them, but a number of these really powerful, endlessly used items that are out there, then I wouldn't want to have on top of that a system where we have people who you could just basically for pay or for rare something else rare make you more of these because you're going to find them out in the world anyway. But I say that, but what I think is often doesn't often get modeled is that concept of making the limited use or single use. I'm trying to think of the right word because it's not really the right word. Not that it's a single use. The thing is that it has I guess maybe a specific use. And the example I'm going to bring up is the barrow blade in Lord of the Rings. So these blades, they're nice, right? I don't know if I was going to stat it out in terms of well, what would that barrel blades or those blades? I think there's two of them. Or doesn't there end up being two of them? Right? What are they? They're probably maybe they're +1. Maybe there's magic with no particular thing, but maybe they're also magic swords +3 versus Nazgul, something like that, right? And then when you use it up against the Nazgul, it's used up because that was its purpose. Its purpose was to defeat the Nazgul. You defeat the Nazgul, you do it. So the two things I like about it is it's got this limited purpose. It has a finite purpose. Once it is lived, it's done that purpose, it vanishes. Two, I think that it's been a while since I've read the books, but I don't think that the swords gave too much. They were nice blades, right? And they probably never went dull, and they never did anything. But they didn't do anything amazing outside of that. It wasn't like these were Vorpal blades all the time, and then anti Witch King blades, which means that they're good. They're probably better than your average blade. And if you're in a game that models things like blades getting worn, they're not going to get worn. They're going to get nice and shiny, like these, right? Yada yada yada. But in terms of D&D and kind of OSR games, we don't tend to really model that stuff anyway. So then it's like it doesn't really matter. But maybe you want to give it a little bonus. It's magic in terms of hitting creatures, whatever. But the big bonus comes when you actually use it for the purpose which is intended, which is that okay against the Witch King, and you can write it however you want. It's +3 versus the Witch King, or it negates the Witch King's. The Witch King has I don't know, immunity to physical weapons, except if you hit it with this thing and that removes the immunity. However you want to write it up, it's got this one thing and use it and it's cool. And that's where I feel like I would have these kind of smiths and like to bring it back to what Dave's saying about like crafts people or smiths that you engage with. Like that's how I would want to engage them with. Hey, we want to make a particular thing for a particular purpose. Now it doesn't work out that great, but in the movie Dragon Slayer, there's like a special blade or I guess it's some kind of spear or polearm, or I guess spear would maybe be more of it. That's the kind of the guy saved. He'd been working on trying to take down the dragon. It's not it's kind of cool outside of it, but it's really for that one thing. And then I think the nice thing about having the craftsman do it, just in terms of, is you can really relay that to the players. You've got this thing. It's almost like when you get I guess the magic items that come closest when you have those kind of arrows, like an arrow that's like an arrow of what was like slaying or something. Like you've only got the one, you're going to use it, it's going to be gone. You can kind of use it. Dave says that would be an awesome way of saying this can only be hit by magic items, but the magic item must be specific to this monster. Yeah, or that kind of thing, or just like, hey, we know we're going to go up against giants, so I need a giant slaying something, and then you could say like, okay, this will work, but when you've killed the king of the giants, that will be the end of the sword, right? This sword is bound, and it could be something like you need to get the something that some kind of trophy, or not trophy is the right word, some kind of item that belonged to Snorri, the king of the giants. And when you have got that and you've brought it to me, I can craft the sword. But this sword and when he brings it back to you, is like this blade or this hammer or whatever, right? It is its life and Snorri's life are entwined. So when Snorri dies, this thing dies, whatever, something like that. there are a lot of neat things you could do, but that's kind of where I fall out on that, right? I really like the idea of having these really kind of cool custom magic items, but I don't like them just being just sort of adding to I guess like a never-ending buffet of items, but giving them some kind of really cool, potentially strong powers, but that they're limited in scope and limited in use, I think is neat. And they can also find them, but yeah, also make them, find them, make them, both, both. Okay. So let's see. We've got tables 4. So I'm gonna roll. I'm going to roll the prompts now, and we'll see if we get one of these. But I'll roll on these subtables. If we don't, oh, I have my dice. All right, what do I need to roll? First, we're gonna roll our category using the green 1984, which I just tossed. Let me do that again. I got a 2. Oh, I got a place. All right, we're in business. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to. I was writing something about alignment. I'm gonna have to put that somewhere else right now. I'm not gonna be able to. Yeah, any type. This is currently what I've been using to kind of just. There we go. Okay. Got a place. What is this, week 4? And then I can roll. All right, we did get place, so I can roll on place. What kind of place did we get? I was gonna say it looked like a 7, but it is a 4. All right, town. Oops. Place. And now we need to go here. So our subject, roll on 2d6. The blue will be my 10s today. 42. Look at that weapon. Maybe we're going to have a place that's renowned for making weapons. All right. Second one, 64. Sable. And third, let's see, 56. Buried. Oh, all right. There we have it. There's some intriguing stuff there. A buried weapon, maybe? I meant to do double asterisks. Oh, I want to find that one. Okay, there you have it. So we got a town, a weapon, color, or other kind of property, sable, and buried. So it's always I know I feel like I say this a lot, but man, the dice sometimes just give you cool stuff. Oops, no, I didn't want that. I want it edited. Oh, not there, here. And I feel you get buried weapons, just kind of all right, like that's kind of cool. That. Oh, whoops, I had it. I did it wrong. I was italicizing those and then bolding the other ones. Any last thoughts before I call it long symbol, call it a stream here for the day? Have you got anything going on? I saw someone posted Well, actually, I got two things I'll ask you guys before I head out. So I got a really good comment where someone was asking for tips on survivability in AD&D. It just was those questions I always like. I need more context from the I did respond asking for some more details because I couldn't tell if they were coming at it from a player, are they the GM? And there's just so much variance in the way people play and run these games. Obviously, as you guys probably well know, that sometimes it can be difficult when trying to give kind of advice or say like, oh, this or that, the other. Well, you don't know what tools they're using, how they're using them. Right? Are they using reaction rolls? Are they using morale or fights? And if they're not using morale, does that mean the fights are taking too long? Or they're not using reactions? Is everybody hostile? Like, are the players aware they can run away? Are they running away? Are they doing, are they using kind of tactics in the spaces? Are you the GM kind of giving them sort of latitude to use tactics in the spaces? All that kind of things I don't know. So, but if you have any any pithy little pieces of advice or things that you used either as a GM or as a player to overcome, because it's one of those things, right? You think about like, yeah, the games is deadly in the sense that you go into any combat at first level in AD&D or BX or anything else, you're going to have on average pretty much the same amount of health as and the same that you have the same amount of hit points is going to match it with basically one average hit of a weapon, more or less. Which means that you're likely to go down to one hit of a weapon, maybe two if you're lucky, right? It's one or two. I mean, unless you're really lucky and they just keep rolling ones for hitting you, on average, you're going to die to one or two weapon hits. And, depending on how you're doing negative hit points, whatever, maybe you got a little more survivability. But people do obviously progress through multiple battles, multiple melees, multiple forays in the dungeons and adventures, and of course leveling up. And that's not even to say that people are cheating or everything. But it is very interesting because on the one hand, dice are what they are. You could just get bludgeoned, and there's not too much at first level. You got 2 hit points. You run into a lone goblin on top of a hill decides to chuck a rock at you and hits you for 3 hit points, and you're dead. That's it. So it is interesting conundrum, but this person seemed to suffer a lot. So hit me up on the forums.hex.press or elsewhere. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks that you picked up. And it doesn't have to just be for this person. We're talking about AD&D, but I'm pretty sure any kind of OSR, anything you've used or come across in these different OSR games would, I'm sure would probably apply. And maybe I'm going to think of some on my own and see, but I'm trying to get more details. But if you're just having like, oh yeah, this is the things we did as players, that'd be great. Or as a GM, if there were things like, hey, keep in mind these things. Like I said, I'll probably mention if they are the GM, right? Use morale, use reactions, use distances. Not everything should start at 30 feet. In fact, both things should start further away, and that gives your party a lot more space to figure out what they're doing, so on and so forth. But I wanted to ask that. And then the other thing I wanted to float, and I'll probably make a community post to get more eyeballs on it, is doing some kind of workshop. The workshop would be for something similar to kind of like the stuff we're doing here, but it'd be something that like I would charge for it. And the reason why I would charge one, it would just help me raise some funds to do stuff for the channel. The other thing it would do is I feel like I want to get folks who are serious and kind of want to do it. And are kind of serious about doing it. It wouldn't be a lot. It would be like a couple of bucks. And maybe we do it for 4 or 5 weeks. Doing something like maybe building up like a micro setting or building up a hex crawl, something like that. And it would be, if I could get enough people on board, and it'd be something like over a month or maybe 2 months, something like that. Maybe weekly or every other weekly, having some kind of just in the group sort of check, and we could kind of get like a little thing together where we look at each other's work, and of course you have access to me for whatever that's worth, and going through that stuff. And like I said, it'll be a few bucks, be a way that, like I said, I could kind of try to raise a little bit of fundage to do stuff, but then also hopefully it could be something we could do a little extra. And that's kind of if you're like, I really want to do this either for something I want to sell or for something that I want to have. And so like I said, it would be, depending on the amount of people and whatever the parameters would be, it'd probably be like $5. Like I said, I'm not trying to charge an arm or leg. Something like that. and maybe if it turned out like I don't know, like I'm trying to think about it. I'm kind of in the spot of wondering like, would people be interested in doing it? Interested in doing it with me, and then how much of my time would folks need to feel like it's worthwhile, and then what do I need to do for my end for that? But it's kind of like I'm trying to raise some monies to do things like maybe try to attend another con or kind of do something like that, or just kind of get stuff that I need. So that's what I was thinking about this. So let me know if that would appeal to you, and I'm totally fine if it doesn't at all. No, what's the word? Like no, I'm not being insulted or anything. But I thought I would throw that out there for folks who may be wanting to, like, hey, if I invest a little bit and kind of like, I feel like when folks kind of invest some of their thing into it, then it's something that I don't want to be like I get a bunch of people doing it and then things just fall apart. Like I want people to, if they're going to do it, to kind of do it kind of seriously. That's kind of part of my other thoughts. But let me know if that's appealing to you at all. And like I said, no skin on my bone. No skin off my bones, no skin off my nose. If it's not, Dave says I like how Dungeon World and Tales of Argosa are doing hit points more than AD&D style nowadays. Okay, I don't remember what Dungeon World does, so I'll have to relook at that. And I'm not familiar with Tales of Argosa. I'll have to check that out. I don't mind hit points, but there is that kind of deadliness thing. I mean, I think the other thing is you can always do what lots of people do, and just your parties seems to be dying a lot. And I always think like you're playing for your party, so if you want to have them get negative hit points and so they can kind of, or just be captured, or give them a little bit of boost, like give them all max hit points at first level, something like that. Like it's not game breaking or anything. Like do it. Like that's don't need to worry about what other. There's no purity test for this stuff. If you're playing a game, like man, we like playing, but we're going through a ton of characters and whatever's happening. I need to try to figure out a way to do it. I've tried all these other things; they're just not working. They're like, yeah, give them a boost. Say, oh, 0 hit points, you're going to be captured instead of dead. Or I like what Daniel is in this game. You're defeated, and if at the end of combat and everyone's defeated, then you figure out what happens then. If you end combat and the party wins, but you were defeated, then you're kind of savable. Like I think that's a really interesting way to kind of play with that. You're not really it's not taking away the deadliness necessarily, because if everybody goes down, then it's down. But if not, then it's not. The Tales of Argo says low fantasy gaming version 2.0. Okay, why is everyone changing their names? But I'll have to check it out. Okay, because I know I had the low fantasy gaming. I went through that and I enjoyed it, but I didn't know they'd switch gears and came up with another one. Hey, Chris, popping into streams on Twitch. Yeah, I stream to Twitch, but nobody joins through Twitch. But I'm there, and I do read comments. I'm happy to take comments. But yeah, for whatever reason, everybody who comes in on these streams tends to be, or 99% of everybody's on YouTube. Just it is what it is. I'd love to get more Twitchers in there. Maybe it's just the time of day in which I stream just doesn't work for whatever reason. Just doesn't seem to happen too much on Twitch. I don't know why. Twitch doesn't like me. I don't know. Oh, a Swivers, which I've heard of a couple of times, but I'm not sure what it is. But I've heard of it. Says the HP is equal to com and then barely goes up. Okay. Oh, it's just a pre. Yeah, okay. Maybe I heard about it because it's going to Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter. Radel C says a lot of knights die days and weeks later from wound infections. Yes, there's always that. If you want to make it more lethal, then you could die even after recovery using the raid. Raid LC's patented. You've gotten infections in your wound you thought was healed, and you keel over later. Ian says the Twitch discovery is a poop emoji. Yeah, they've got things to work out there. But thankfully, I've got folks on YouTube, so that I don't have to worry about it at the moment. But it is kind of one of those weird. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I would have thought that maybe being in an odd time zone, if people were looking for like D&D type content, maybe it would work, because I don't know how many other ones are doing this stuff in the middle of the day, at least U.S. Eastern time, kind of middle of the day. But maybe there's just nobody. Everyone's working. That might be the other thing. All right, folks. Well, yeah, let me know if that workshop idea appeals to any of you. Like I said, if it's not, but I might pull it later. But if you have thoughts on it, shoot it over to me wherever you find me on social media. I'd like to hear if it's something that is interesting or not. I'm totally okay with it being not, but I kind of interested in it. But it's one of those things that, like I've said with streams, if I'm doing it with folks on, and it's kind of like I have got that focus, whereas if I was to do it just by myself, it would just end up in like a I'd have a hard time with it. But if I lock in and say I'm doing it now, then it helps give me the focus I need. But you guys let me know. Otherwise, any last thoughts? We've got our community prompt for week 4. It's a town, weapon, sable, and buried. Kind of sable, the meaning of sable, like sand, and buried. That's kind of cool. Got some good stuff there. All right, folks. Oh, wait. Terrence is coming back from the dungeon on a litter and dying from a bed sore weeks later. Sounds super fun. Sign me up. Yeah, that's definitely something that would happen more in it's like a Pendragon where you don't quite get over your wounds and you just kind of suffer away. And it'd be one of those downtime. I think I could see if you were doing some kind of like life paths, but in your downtime elements. So over a course of time, you'd roll and then you could potentially die off screen, so to speak, from wounds. Yeah, probably not the most fun thing. If you're playing like a single person, I guess, as opposed to some kind of dynastic or different members of your family are going to come and go, but there's some kind of through line, and that's what you're playing. Then maybe that comes in more fun. But it might be just a fun, I don't know, like a really weird random event that you maybe not the dying from the infection, but maybe like on some kind of weird random event that somebody has an infection that they got. Because presumably everyone's going to have gotten hurt at one time. And even if you didn't, you could still catch an infection. So that might be kind of interesting. But maybe not just, oh, you got an infection, save or die, sort of thing. Chris says they're excited for Mystic Bastion Land. Yeah, I need to go back and look at it. So I looked at it long ago. I think I did. Yes, I definitely did. But I need to go back and check out changes. I know because it's kind of been in this beta thing. Or did it go through Kickstarter already? It might have gone through Kickstarter already. I can't remember. But yeah, once it's kind of come out, I'll have to take a look at it again. Because I remember looking, I think it was like some Hexed generators or a little mini setting generator that he had for Mystic Bastion Land, and it seemed to work pretty well. All right, folks. Well, I will call it a stream. Chris, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you'll be back. I usually stream around this time. This is the first time you've caught me. I tend to stream. Actually, this is probably a little bit late for me. Sometimes I'm earlier in the day, but usually sometime between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I tend to hit the to-go button. I do try to plan them in advance mostly, but then there are some like these that are just kind of impromptu, and I just run with them. Terrence says, downtime dangers sounds like an article that needs to be written. Yeah. It should be. I think it would be interesting to see who picks that stuff up and runs with it. But there could definitely be a thing of some kind. All right, folks. I'm out of here. Game on. Talk to you later. Bye now.